Hello, pro wrestling fans, family, and friends. Welcome to the History of Pro Wrestling. I am your host, Joe Monroe, and today, pretty good day today. We learned this past Monday of the passing of Sycho Sid Vicious, um, and I know we was going to talk about Scott Hall today, but I want to move him to next week, and decided to just talk about Sid today. But I'm not alone. I am here with everybody's favorite professor. I call him the Ric Flair of podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one, the only Professor Bear.
And thank you for having me. It's um, it's always a sad occasion when people pass away, but if you could think of great memories and just to celebrate their lives, then I think that's the best thing we can do.
Absolutely. And that's why I wanted to do this. I was a lot of people are going to be really, because I was really bummed out whenever I found out. I was like, really? What the heck? And then I learned he was just 63. I know I'm saying just, but that's still pretty young. And it's like, okay, what happened? Then come to find out, his son, I think it was Wednesday, he said he had been battling cancer for about a year. Um, which would explain why he didn't look that healthy. Um, Whenever I watched, he did an interview not too long ago, and I was like, Sid looks kind of sick. So,
Yeah,
uh,
and that touches home with me because my father died of cancer. So
same it. Same with my grandfather and my cousin, and about half my family passed away from cancer. So I was like, yeah, we're definitely. That's what I was like. We're switching it up this week. Uh, so for those just tuning in, we are going to be talking about. We're not talking about Scott Hall again. We'll do that next week. We're talking about the one, the only Psycho Sid Vicious, or Sid Eudy was his actual name. And actually, believe it or not, he wrestled under his real name for a while. I did not know that. He wrestled under independent shows under his real name, which I thought was pretty cool. Uh, but you know what, Professor? We got a long way to go because this man has done a lot.
oh yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. Let's go into his early career from starting in 1987 to 1989. Not many people know this, but it was an encounter with both Randy and Lanny Poffo that started him on his journey on professional wrestling. Just having an encounter with him, and he was just like, I got to get into the business. And his trainer is a legendary trainer, Tojo Yamamoto. That's something I did not know. I was like, okay. That's one of the
It's
toughest trainers in the biz.
That's exactly what I was going to say. A lot of people really don't understand how well Japanese wrestlers train wrestlers. I I can't put enough emphasis on the seriousness that Japanese wrestlers take in wrestling. So when you are getting trained, you are gonna get the best. If you ain't, they will weed you out within 2 weeks if you are not serious about this business.
Absolutely. Well, that's with anybody nowadays, but especially back then, yeah,
Woo.
they would put a whooping on you, and if you don't last, you didn't come back, and that's what they expected. Um, but I mean, you can ask this man, James Kendrick. I mean, he knows all about that. How you doing, James? But he started off as Lord Humongous, which he wasn't the first person to portray Lord Humongous. He said in a recent interview that there was I think it was a football coach or some kind of school coach that portrayed Lord Humongous at first, but he only did it seasonal. So they're like, "Hey, you're playing Lord Humongous," and he's like, "Okay." Teaming up with Nick Bockwinkel and Jerry the King Lawler. Then on Christmas 1987, he won his first title, which was the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship, the Northern Division. I have to say, it's the Northern Division. And later, he would turn into a fan favorite, rekindling uh, friendship with, believe it or not, Shane Douglas.
Uh,
Um,
I'm glad you said that because I was going to say I actually remember him being Lord Humongous. That was the first time I had ever seen him, and it was in my area. Like you said, they were continental wrestling, a continental championship wrestling. Then here's another funny fact. Um, Paulie Dangerously and
Yep.
Eddie Gilbert bought the promotion, and they changed it to Continental Wrestling Federation. And Shane Douglas portrayed, and Lord Humongous Sid Vicious were portrayed as cousins. They won the tag titles together.
Well, I mean, if you look at him, Sid had that long blonde hair, and so did Shane back then.
And
So
with
that
the
would make a whole lot of sense. And they do kind of look alike, but yeah, looks like we got some fans here. Hello, Danielle. How are you doing? And oh no, gosh, no! I thought I got rid of him already. He is bare necessity, simple bare necessity. Leaves Professor Bear alone. Hey Ma, how you doing? But yeah, he started off as Lord Humongous. And again, I didn't know that he tagged with excuse me, with Shane Douglas there for a moment. Uh, so yeah, I mean everything looks great. So let's see, let's move on here. He would later on win the NWA, as you said, the Southeastern Tag Team Championships. Um, and I think what?
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then
Eldridge,
I start eating garbage.
what are you doing? This ain't the horror show.
Hello.
We said Lord Humongous and Eldridge appears. Huh? No. It was supposed.
By the way, ATB and Tanner sent me the contract that I need to sign. Looking over that now,
Okay.
but we'll discuss that at a later date.
So me and Professor, we just literally got started, and we're talking about Sid as Lord Humongous and him tagging with Shane Douglas, which you, as a wrestling enthusiast, know that. And apparently Saba wants to join us. Hey Saba, how you doing, buddy? So what was your take on that?
Well, a lot of people, and Professor Bear can give me if I'm wrong on this. A lot of people didn't believe in Sid at that time. It was kind of like, oh, let's just put him as something. We'll just see if it sticks. It was kind of, oh, he's a tall guy. He's clumsy. He's not going to be able to do anything. But it kind of, I think, to him, kind of made him push even harder. It made him show like, oh, you all think I can't do something. Well, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Right.
And that's really what he did his entire career.
No, that's exactly what he did. Then he would go on later in his career to compete in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which, again, Japanese wrestling. The man was tough as nails, and you got to be tough. Where he actually challenged Tatsumi Fujinami for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship under the name Vicious Warrior. Not the best names, but okay, we'll go with that. But was unable to win the title. Eudy then made a very brief stint in World Class, which in the voting pool, that is third place. So we may get into World Class on a future day. And he dubbed the notable ring name as Sid Vicious, where he kind of took that from Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those professors like, yeah, I'm remembering all this. I'm remembering all this.
Well,
Oh yeah.
you know what, Joe? I actually have a question for you. I know
Okay.
the professor will know this. When was the first time Sid was called Sycho Sid?
Was it his first WCW run that we're about to get into?
No.
When was it?
WrestleMania 8, Bobby Heenan brought it up that Gorilla Monsoon told a writer that his name wasn't Sid Justice. His name should be Sycho Sid.
All right. Well, getting a little ahead of the game here, Harper, as usual.
Hey, Bear, I'm just trying to show some intellect to this guy because you don't know what he's talking about half the time.
And this guy used to be my manager. Well, that was his early stage of his career. Let's go ahead and let's move on to the next stage of his career where he would go to NWA World Championship Wrestling. Not World Championship Wrestling, but NWA World Championship Wrestling.
Oh
Then
boy.
he started quit. He started in 1989 when he signed with them and retained his name Sid Vicious. And apparently he was getting over down there in world class. He made his televised debut against Dwayne Bruce on June 17th, 1989 on an episode of Pro. Literally, that was the name of the show there, kids. It was just Pro. And Eudy would eventually be paired with Danny Spivey to become, go ahead, guys, say it.
The Twin Towers.
Yep, or the Skyscrapers. And they were managed by the one and only Teddy Long. See, not many people know Teddy Long was a wrestling manager and a referee before he became Teddy Long.
Teddy Long was incredible.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. And believe it or not, the Skyscrapers, they feuded with the Road Warriors and the Steiner brothers during this time. And it was during that time he started incorporating the Powerbomb as his finishing move. And the team was very short-lived, however, as Eudy was replaced by Mean Mark Callis, or known as the Undertaker.
Now, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Why was he replaced in the Skyscrapers?
It is saying here it was after suffering a broken rib that almost punctured. No, it does say it punctured a lung during the match.
And which match was it again?
Looks like it was with the Steiner brothers at November 15th, Clash of the Champions.
Yes, sir. I remember the match. And especially at that time, they were so over just for their height. And then to go toe-to-toe with the Road Warriors at that time and could come out looking good just elevated them so well. But again, once he got his he punctured his rib and kidney, they put him on the shelf, so they came up with a different gimmick.
Yeah. I was actually watching. I think it was the biography recently that the Undertaker came out with, and he was talking about that, and he was like, "I can't replace Sid." What? Let's see. Looks like Junior Bass is here. Hi, Junior. How you doing? I hope your dad's doing well. Well, after his recovery, he would come back on May 11th, 1990, at an edition of NWA Power Hour. God, I missed those. And as the newest member of the Four Horsemen. Again, how many people can say, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, you were a two-time WWF champion, at least, I think, a two-time WCW champion,
Yep.
a member of the Four Horsemen, managed by Teddy Long, with probably one of the most underrated tag teams, was Lord Humongous with Shane Douglas back in the day. I mean, me and Professor was talking off camera. I know a lot of people want to pick on Sid because, yes, he wasn't perfect. He did have some slip-ups. But Sid did a lot in his career.
Yeah.
I hate that his slip-ups, because, I used to even make fun of him because of his slip-ups, especially the Half a Brain That I Do promo, but...
That wasn't his fault. That was WCW, right?
I know that was WCW, but... I just think the bad outweighs the good when it comes to Sid, which we'll get to the good here. Sid was the new muscle of the Four Horsemen and of the group, and initially brought and counteract the strength of, RoboCop. What was WCW's booking back in what were they thinking?
Man, we got to come up with something, anything to get some ratings.
Yeah.
Hey, RoboCop, that's perfect.
Oh, good night, Irene.
Yeah, let's bring RoboCop in and let's put Sting in the cage. Oh wait, and the cage has plastic bars that you can see from a mile away, and he's just. My camera's mad.
That was actually perfect because that's how the angle went, just up in smoke.
Whoop! Oh crap! Oh, technical difficulties. Then his first televised match back was a 20-second loss to Lex Luger on June 3rd, Clash of Champions, and after the referee performed a fast 3 count. Let's see, and as one of the Horsemen, he feuded with Paul Orndorff and the Junkyard Dog, which are, I think, underrated feuds. And then he was attacked, and he attacked Sting, which at the time he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. At the following following a championship match at Clash of the Champions.
And so, a quick couple of things about that. Who was Sting? Do you know who Sting wrestled? Sting took on Sid. Do you know who interfered in that match?
Was it? Oh God, was it Black? Was it Black Scorpion or something like that? The Ric Flair. Was it that?
Close. It's close. It was Barry Windham dressed up as Sting.
They
took Sting in the back, tried to tie him up. Barry came back out, dressed as Sting, and took the pinfall for Sid to win. Sting came back out. The ref restarted the match, and Sting pinned Sid off of that. That's one of the funniest, silliest things I ever remember because I was a kid at the time, and I'm like, I can clearly see that's not Sting.
Especially with the long hair.
And hell, and Barry was 6'5". Sting was 6'1". That was a big gap.
They look semi the same, so they look semi the same, baby. So we're gonna book it, okay?
They'll never understand, baby.
You gotta understand, it's best for business, baby. It's best for business. We need to do an episode on Dusty pretty soon. That was Ole's booking, is what James Kendrick said. So it was this guy. It was Ole.
Well, I mean, Ole's, Dusty, it's all the same.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how long Ole lasts.
That is true. Yep, and it does say something about Barry Windham here for fake Sting, and it looks like it came out and beat Sid and retain the title that night. Then Sid's association with the Horsemen became tenuous following this episode, and he began a kind of a face run. He started turning a little bit around November 20th when defeated the Night Stalker. Professor, what the heck was up with these names back in the early 90s, man?
Man, hey, you have Ole Anderson, Kevin Sullivan. Man, you never know what type of name. And Dusty. And Rick, and too. All 4 of them did some booking at the time. So any kind of generic name, baby, it'll get you over.
You're going to be Oz, baby. Oz is a geographical region, Dusty. No, you're going to be Oz.
Funny enough, do you know who was the Night Stalker?
Let's see. The Night Stalker was... Let me get that pulled up.
Of course, he has to pull it up.
It was... No, wait. No. Hang on. I'm not looking at it. It was Atom Bomb.
That's right.
It was indeed Atom Bomb. You know he's got his own TikTok?
Did not.
Yeah, he's got his own TikTok. A little side note there. He does lives every now and again. But he went up against the Night Stalker. I lost my place here for a moment. Sorry. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, wow. I did not know this. After it became tedious, on December 16th, the Skyscrapers had a short-lived reunion when Sid and former partner Spivey defeated Big Cat and the Motor City Madmen at Starrcade Following this match, Eudy made it an abrupt return to heel status, squashing Joey Mags. What the heck? At Clash of the Champions Dixie Dynamite on January 30th in 91. He returned to full-fledged horseman activity and participated in the War Games match. Yes, the famous War Games match where he supposedly dropped, was it Brian Pillman on his
Yes.
head?
Yes.
Oh, and not just that. Remember, Professor Bear, Brian Pillman also hit his head on the top of the cage with the power bomb.
Yes, he did. It honestly, that of all War Games matches, that was the closest anyone came to really getting maimed. It was even worse than J.J. Dillon getting his arm ripped out, his rotator cuff. Pillman was very lucky that a couple of more inches, it would have broke his neck and killed him instantly.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and I mean, also, that's the last time the cage was that short.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. You have 7 foot tall men in there, and they're doing power bombs. You didn't think that, oh, they're going to hit the top of the ceiling. Oh, well, it'll be good for pay-per-view buys.
Another funny fact, that is the one and only time the Horseman won a War Games cage match.
Hey, James Kitchen saying, I don't know. JJ got it pretty bad.
But look, I would rip my rotator cuff off, but when you hit me up going for a move and damn near break my neck, I'm taking the rotator cuff anytime.
I'd have to agree with you there. Then the Horsemen split up that April, and there was some dispute with huge contracts offers and promises from WC, same BS from early WCW. And Sid announced his intentions to leave WCW for the first time. Now, it looks like my aunt's here. Hello. Hey, Aunt Dicey, how you doing? And Junior Bass says, I remember that. Jeez, Junior, I didn't know you was that old, buddy. But
hey.
Sorry, no offense, Professor. But he would move on to bigger and better things. He is moving to New York. That's right. He went to the World Wrestling Federation between 1991 to 1992. This was the first run of the WWF for Sycho Sid, and he appeared on an episode of Superstars. Give me a minute. Now you got me all confused here. At Superstar taping at May 28th of 1991, and Eudy made his WWF debut in an untelevised segment, attacking none other than the Mountie. Following the Mountie's open offer. I mean, I don't really blame him. I do miss the Mountie, though. On June 8th episode of Primetime Wrestling, vignettes began airing and promoting his WWF debut, introducing him as Eldred said, Sid Justice. And Sid made his debut on WWF television July 20th episode of Superstars, and on August 26th at SummerSlam, he served as the guest referee in a handicap match with, who was it, gentlemen?
It was Hulk Hogan, and supposed to have been the Ultimate Warrior.
It versus
and I can't remember who they took on because it was 3.
Well, it was 91, right?
Yes.
Sergeant Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Sheik.
Uh-huh.
And
their manager,
Colonel Akbar or something like that.
Yeah.
General Adnan.
Versus Hogan and Ultimate Warrior. That's when Ultimate Warrior got fired.
Yep. And later that night, Sid saved Randy. What's actually, I got that figure right here. That was the Elite, which I call the Horseman figure because he had that singlet and the Horseman. We'll get to the other one here in a minute because they did my man dirty on this WCW figure, especially what happened to him. And later that night, he would save Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth from an attack from Jake Roberts and The Undertaker at the newlywed couple's reception. Man, that was probably the only good wedding that happened in the WWF. That the ceremony itself went well. It was just, during the reception, that's when it all went to heck.
Well, I can name one more, but that's neither here nor there.
And during this time, Sid defeated Kato in his first televised match on September 20th episode of Superstars. And then Sid competed for the vacated WWF Championship in the Royal Rumble match on January 19th of 1992, where he entered at number 29. Go ahead, Eldridge.
Now, there's a lot of scrutiny on this.
All right, go ahead.
And Bear can testify with me on this one. When he eliminated Hogan, they put in a boo track.
Yes.
Because if you watched it, you could see everyone was cheering, and you just hear boos like,
something not right here.
And then, now look, I like Hogan and everything, but he went back there and became a big baby, and Sid threatened to quit.
I got it. That just don't work for me, brother.
Hogan was being Hogan. So
there we go. Professor said it best. But what they're basically saying, folks, is that after Sid eliminated Hogan, got his big cheer, Hogan went to shake Sid's hand and pulled him over the top rope, which I think should be illegal. But hey.
I mean, they were talking about putting the belt on Sid, though, weren't they?
At this time,
that was the plan.
Yeah,
at this time, but Hogan being Hogan.
Brother, I'm gonna politic. I'm telling you, bro. What you need to do is let me put him in his place, brother. Go on and give it to Flair, brother.
Which Flair,
And if you really think about this, the level of star power at this Royal Rumble was, I will argue, one of the greatest just star-powered Rumbles in history.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of star power in this Rumble. Even for them being, some people at this time being, not as well known as they would later become. But looking back, yeah, this was probably the most star-powered Rumble ever, almost. Let's see. But then Sid, there was this big thing with the WWF president, Jack Tunney. Whatever happened to Jack Tunney? Does anybody know? Is that another episode we got to go down?
Yes. I just found out about, man.
He's long gone now, but
they did him dirty.
We'll talk later on that. We'll talk off camera. But he held a press conference determining Flair's opponent at WrestleMania. And before he could do that, Sid stood up as if Tony was about to call his name, yet to Sid's annoyance, Tanay chose Hogan, which I think was bullcrap. But, hey, they were all...
You got Hogan screaming,
yes, brother.
Yes. You can see Sid just like tearing that paper apart. I'm just like, oh, boy, this could be fun.
Oh, yeah. And then, he got that... menacing glance. The decision was bogus. Sid later apologized to Hogan and teamed up with Hogan to face Undertaker and Flair at Saturday night's main event. And during that match, after he double clotheslined Taker and Flair, Hogan reached for Sid for the tag, and Sid said, "I'm good, brother," and walked away.
No.
Hogan won the match.
No. Get it right. He put his hand out there like, "Oh, come on," and jumped out.
Oh, that's right. And then he turned, of course, heel. But Hogan ended up winning the match by DQ. Hey, shocker there, right, guys? Yeah. And then later on February 20th, the Wrestling Challenge, Sid appeared as a guest on Brutus the Barber Beefcake's barbershop, knowing that Hogan and Beefcake was real life partners, or the Booty Man, whichever one you want to call him. I mean, whatever. Was not in the arena. Sid threatened Beefcake and chased him off his set before destroying the barbershop with the chair. And later that night...
I'm sorry.
Did I say the Booty Man?
No. All I could think about with that promo from WrestleMania 8 is the shaving cream that exploded on his face, and he's selling it. He's
the crap out of it. He goes, I don't care. I'm still flowing with it. And then later that night, he was scheduled to face Hogan, and at WrestleMania. And of course that didn't turn out. And Sid acquired the managerial skills of one Harvey Wimpleman, or as everybody down here knows him as Downtown Bruno.
Or Hervina. Or Hervina.
We want to forget about Hervina. Dang it, Bruno. Why did you do that? I guess you needed money, pal. That's another one we're going to get into on the history of pro wrestling eventually, because I do love Downtown Bruno. And as his manager, and began his post-match gimmick, where he would further kayfabe injure his and defeat his opponents with one or more power bombs, which I think they were building Sid up as this unstoppable beast and monster.
Just like they did with everybody Hogan faced.
Yeah, and then Hogan ended up squashing him. Prior to the WrestleMania match, however, with Hogan, Sid failed a drug test, and that wouldn't allow him to go to the European tour. So that kind of, lost its momentum. And Sid would unfortunately embark on a feud with the Ultimate Warrior after WrestleMania because of this. And the story being that Sid was angry at Warrior for saving Hogan at WrestleMania. Eudy wrestled with Warrior and won by disqualification after wrestling Warrior in Boston.
Yeah, but do you know how that started, though? So Vince went to Sid and told him, hey, you're going to wrestle the Warrior, but you got to talk to Warrior first. He went and talked to Warrior, and all Warrior was saying is like, oh, the stars need to be aligned. The world needs to be turning.
Dang it, Warrior, get out of gimmick for a minute and let's talk about this.
And Sid was like, he went to Vince and said, I can't work with people like this.
Exactly. There was some disagreements on April 26th after this, which Sid just basically said, I'm going to leave. And the WWF replaced Sid with Papa Shango to feud with the Ultimate Warrior. And that's when we got that, the curse of the Warrior.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Do you know the truth of why Sid left? And this is a pattern of Sid with companies. If you don't know anything else about Sid Vicious, know this: he was an avid fan of softball. This is no lie. He would leave wrestling companies to go play a season of softball.
Yep.
He's did it with the NWA. He left the first run with WWE. He's did it with smaller companies. He would put softball over making money.
And he was actually pretty good at softball. That's the sad part.
At it. Damn,
he's really good. Then in 1993, that's when he said goodbye, and that's when he returned briefly to WCW, and for the year of 93, and from 95 to 96, he would go to the USWA, back to Memphis roots. Now in his WCW, he wrestled under Sid Vicious again, and returned to WCW as a mystery competitor of Colonel Robert Parker against Van Hammer at Slamboree. That was a flop. Not Sid, but Van Hammer.
Guys, don't worry that Hogan signed a new deal with WF. The Van Hammer man's here, baby.
Not Irene. That summer, he teamed with Big Van Vader and reunited his feud with Sting. Then in that September at Fall Brawl, it was Sting's team. Oh, God. You know what this is, guys. Yeah. Sting, Davey Boy Smith, Dustin, and the Shockmaster. Defeated. Sorry,
it was shocking, brother.
But I will say that the pay-per-view before that had Luger. I mean, not Luger. Sorry, what was I saying? I did a college prep before I came on here. I apologize. You had Sting, Davey Boy, versus Vader and Sid.
Right.
That was actually a really good match. A lot of people hate on that match.
Oh
But
yeah,
I thought it was very well done.
it was definitely well done. Then after that, that War Games match. Wow, Harley Heat was actually part of that team too. I forgot about that. It
Yeah,
was Halloween Havoc.
and a lot of people don't realize it was actually Sid Vicious who got Harlem Heat their WCW contract.
Yeah, I was watching a Booker T's episode, and he's like, "It's all because of Sid, man. Out of
And
all people."
and a lot of people don't know that, of course, a lot of time most wrestlers who start off in the business are broke. And they are just putting pennies together just trying to survive.
Right.
Sid Vicious actually let Booker and Stevie Ray stay at his apartment when they first got signed to WCW.
Yep. Oh, good night, Irene. It's Crander Q, the second bearded in podcasting. Hey, Crander. But yeah, after that, Sid turned face. He was scheduled to challenge for the WCW title against Vader at Starrcade and win the title. However, before the match could happen, Sid was released from his contract. Dude, yes, Professor, it's the thing you think of the most. Due to an altercation with Arn Anderson during the WCW tour of Europe.
Did they ever end up squashing that? I heard rumors they did.
I
I
think
never
they
Yes.
heard the truth.
I think I read saw where Arn Anderson talked about it, and they finally, put it aside after all those years.
right.
But here's my thing. Everybody who talks about wrestling is fake, blah blah this and that. You talk to some of these wrestlers and see what they went through. You can never, ever tell a professional wrestler that wrestling is fake, especially when you almost lose your life. It is so disrespectful to call wrestling fake to any wrestler.
Did you not see that little template I made a few weeks ago? Because that about happened in real life, and my wife had to calm me down. I mean, I've had to stop that man down below there, Eldridge, for doing the same thing, going after someone like a Mad Bull for saying the F word. But
I hate it. It's ridiculous. Come talk to me. Come talk to Joe. Okay, I've had many concussions. I've been in the hospital 3 or 4 times because of wrestling.
he has drove me while concussed. No, while I was concussed, he drove me.
Yeah.
That's a story for a later day. That is a story for a later day.
No. You brought it up. This guy thought his house was at Lake Cumberland.
I live in Williamsburg. This is before I moved.
He said, "Oh, turn right here." I turned right. He goes, "Oh crap, this isn't it. You got to turn around." And if you've been to Lake Cumberland, you know there's nowhere to turn around.
My bad. But after that, he would go to the USWA in Memphis and feud with his old rival, Jerry Lawler, where he would win the promotion's Unified World Heavyweight Championship, which I think, honestly, is an overlooked title in the history of pro wrestling. That's just me. And it's one title I'm looking at getting a replica of.
I thought you already had a replica of that one.
No, I don't. That's the only replica title I have.
That is by the way, that is one of the most beautiful world championship titles that they ever made.
Absolutely.
It comes up for me like second behind the big gold belt.
Let's see. Then
the big gold belt to WWE ruined it.
Yeah. Then he would still feud with Lawler throughout his time. He also participated in the UWF Blackjack Brawl in September, and on September 23rd of 1994, just a few weeks after I was born, challenged Dr. Death Steve Williams for the UWF World Heavyweight Championship, and unsuccessfully won it. Then on February 6, 1995, Lawler won the USWA Unified title back from Sid, and Sid would regain the title from Lawler on August 30th. Before relinquishing the title back to Lawler on September 2nd. So Sid had a really good title reign, but both times with that unified heavyweight title. And again, that's one thing I didn't know about. That's something that's way overlooked, and it shouldn't be overlooked.
Well, the one thing, and when it comes to Lawler, people don't realize, and as much as I know history, the one thing about Lawler, he is the most crowned champion of all time.
Oh yeah, because
And
he was big in Memphis, huge.
and that's what I was gonna say. There, you cannot say Memphis without saying Jerry Lawler. He is definitely the king there.
Yep.
No other place.
Yeah, him and Elvis, they're referred to as the King.
Yes.
So, and both in Memphis. But after that run, he would travel on somewhere. Well, Joe Gertner only means one thing. Time to take a little bit of a break here, gentlemen. And I guess shout out some sponsors. First and foremost, Phenomenal Finds ATL. If you're looking for anything retro, check out phenomenalfindsatl.com, as well as our friends, Charms Photos. Crystal, the lovely lady who takes photos of the pro wrestling action, is great, phenomenal. If you don't believe me, well, just look at this picture at James Kendrick chopping the soul out of Adrian Alexander. Adrian's probably going to kill me for that one, but a good picture nonetheless. And Les Murphy Painting. If you're having any trouble with any painting needs, contact Les Murphy at 734-334-3702, and make sure that you state Joe Monroe sent you. Speaking of the second beard of podcasting, we want to give a big shout out to Red Ape Graphics by Crander Q. All the graphics that you see today was made by Crander Q, and he is an amazing person. And me and Alex are going on a little road trip here soon at Scarefest Weekend 16 on October 18th through the 20th, 2024 at the Central Bank Center at Lexington, Kentucky. We're going to go there, have a good time. Alex has already spent most of his money already doing, the extra podcasting there, and he's going to be broke before the show even starts. So that's going to be a great time.
Make sure you all get your tickets. Okay, get your tickets. Thank you.
Yes. Let's see. Been there, done. Okay, whatever, James. Don't forget the Views champion at Friends of the Squared Circle. Oh, good night, Irene. Hush. All right. So we left off in Memphis, and now guess where he's going back to, gentlemen?
WWE.
He's going back to the WWF. That is right. Clicked the wrong one there. Way to go, Joe. All right.
Good going, Joe. Jeez, we need Dave back.
Yeah, Dave. Dave's not here, man. And this is when Sid would appear on an episode of Raw under the moniker Sycho Sid as the bodyguard of Shawn Michaels, replacing Diesel. And along with Jenny McCarthy, who was a babe back in the day. Swing! Sid accompanying Michaels to ringside for the WWF Championship match against Diesel, which we will not talk about that title match because... Yeah. One count after a super kick. Sure, Vince, that sounds great. Then, as speaking of that,
I mean, maybe he was predicting the future because everybody uses a super kick as a regular move now.
Right. Which ended up Michaels losing, and after Michaels' loss, the next night on Raw. Michaels expressed dissatisfaction with Sid's interference during the match and gave him the night off and with his rematch against Diesel. And in response, Sid yelled at Shawn and attacked Michaels and hit a powerbomb on him 3 times before turning face again.
Yeah, let's talk about that first powerbomb. I think Michaels pushed a little hard off the knees and then went the other way.
Yeah,
like that was pretty bad.
Well,
I think, but then again, I think Michaels did that on purpose.
Yeah, well, this was narcotics Michaels, as I like to refer to.
Yeah.
So like when he dead weighted Diesel the night before.
Yep. Then that babyface run was very short lived because just 2 weeks later, on an episode of Raw, Ted DiBiase introduced Sid as the crown jewel of the $1 Million Corporation. And Sid challenged Diesel to a match for the WWF Championship at the very first In Your House pay-per-view on May 14th, where Diesel won via disqualification and thus retained the title when Tatanka, why was Tatanka in this? Continued to double team Diesel until Bam Bam Bigelow came out to save him, which little backstory, Bam Bam was part of it, lost to LT at Mania, and
Then turned face.
when we get into the history of Bam Bam Bigelow, which soon we'll look into that. Then at King of the Ring, Sid and Tatanka lost to Diesel and Bigelow. Then Diesel, they went on to face each other for the next few months. Then he feuded with Shawn Michaels and was scheduled to face him at SummerSlam, but was replaced by Razor Ramon at the WWF president at the time, Gorilla Monsoon, with Razor Ramon challenging Michaels for the Intercontinental Championship in a ladder match, which was the second ladder match with Michaels and Razor Ramon, which is overlooked, I think. I think the first one kind of overshadows it. And Sid was seen watching the match back on television very intently, because I remember that one. And on September 5th episode, Sid faced Michaels for the title, but lost after being hit with 3 super kicks. And Sid then started a brief feud with Henry Godwin, clumbing into victory with Godwin and In Your House. Then he would go on to face Razor Ramon, with Ramon being having a special referee match with 123 Kid or Sean Waltman at X-Pac, whatever you want to call him. I'm trying to speed run this here, folks. Then he had a couple of feuds there. Then in 1996, July 96, this would be his first run, start of his first run to his first WWF Championship. And believe it or not, he was first. It was supposed to be the Ultimate Warrior at this time. Then, of course, Warrior ruined that. Then Sid took over, and he eventually won the match at Survivor Series from Shawn Michaels. His very first heavyweight title, he beat Shawn Michaels. By the way, that feud, especially with him attacking Jose Lothario and his son, is, I think, overlooked. That's way overlooked.
And the reason being, and I hate to say it like this, but most people were used to Sid failing. And so they didn't, you can have some challengers lose and come back, but as big as Sid was and as menacing, no one really had faith in him to beat Shawn. So once he won, it was a total shock.
Oh, yeah. And then he would go on.
Erupted.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. That was the first
crowd
time.
Was,
people were saying
hot.
He was kind of it was before Stone Cold was kind of the anti-hero. Sid was the first anti-hero of the WWF, which, according to that, I'd have to agree. And then he would go on to defend the title against Bret Hart. Then at the Royal Rumble, he lost the WWF Championship back to Shawn Michaels at the following Royal Rumble. Then he would go on
I lost my smile.
Then just not even a month later, Sid fought Hart for the championship. And during the match, Hart had Sid trapped in a sharpshooter submission when Austin, whom Hart was feuding with at the time, came outside, hit Hart with a steel chair, allowing Sid to hit Hart with the powerbomb and win his second WWF title, which, that was very too short. Not even a month. He won the title back. Then at WrestleMania 13 would later lose it to The Undertaker.
Good match, very overlooked.
And it is very overlooked.
But it's underlooked, but it's known for one of the funniest things ever in a match.
Go ahead and explain to the people what you're talking about. Me and Eldridge know what you're talking about, but some of the viewers might not know.
Again,
is it from the beginning?
No, if you want to go from the beginning, go ahead.
No. You go ahead. That's fine.
Well, no, I was just going to tell the fans of what I know of this. So during the match, Sid had a little, let's say, a little accident in his pants during the match. And
Poor Sid.
needless to say, it will remind you of a child in a diaper who doesn't know any better. Well, Sid just didn't handle his business beforehand and did it during the match.
Yeah. Then shortly after that, in July, he was released from the WWF once again. In the summer,
Hold on, though. He had a
what?
match before he was released. He
I
came back from softball.
Yep.
And he competed against The Undertaker on Raw.
Yep, he competed against The Undertaker, and he also, believe it or not, defeated Owen Hart the next night on a Raw taping before disappearing from television. And that's when he was released due to his neck injury. And he would return to the independent circuit and to the land of extreme, which to me, this right here is where his career is kind of overlooked. Because he did do something, like I said, a little bit of the independent circuit. I think looks like he was in Mississippi and in New Jersey. He defeated King Kong Bundy at the Eddie Gilbert Memorial Brawl on February 28th of 1998. He debuted in ECW in January of 99, where he had matches against the Dudley Boys, Cronus, Skull Von Crush, and Just Incredible. Which at the time, those guys were pretty high ranking in ECW. And then he left in ECW in May due to Monterey problems plaguing the promotion. If you want me to get blunt, it was pay. So,
Pay and softball time.
yes, pay and softball time. Thank you. Let's see. Rip to the master and ruler of the world. Thank you, Tanner. That is true. I said just incredible. And he must have got confused with just Tancredible. And he appeared. But, after that, Aldridge will be back. He said maybe. Depends on how his service is. He would go on to the second return to WCW, which lasted from 99 until WCW's closing in 2000. He would return at the Great American Bash of 1999, joining Randy Savage heel stable Team Madness, and upon the return took the nickname the Millennium Man. God, I don't know why. Why I said why. And faced WCW World Champion Kevin Nash, as Sid was dubbed as undefeated, having a winning streak much like Goldberg had previously, although the majority of the streak was due to Sid coming to the ring, powerbombing wrestlers already in a match or immediately following their match and thus defeating them. Was this Russo era? This had to be Russo era. This sounds like something Russo book. Then later on in September, Sid won his first and only WCW United States Heavyweight title from, believe it or not, Chris Benoit. Fall Brawl. And he would then begin feuding with Goldberg, who challenged him for the United States Heavyweight Championship. And then in October 24th at Halloween Havoc, earlier that night, a backstage fighting led Sid to require stitches, although he refused to be treated, which led Stitch bleeding openly the entire night. And after brawling with Goldberg, a weary Sid lost the match due to excessive blood loss and awarding Goldberg the title against his opponent's will. Sid lost again to Goldberg in an I Quit match at Mayhem November, effectively ending their feud and Sid's so-called streak. God. Eldridge, we can't hear you, buddy.
You hear me now?
A little bit, yes.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. Don't forget what Goldberg did to someone's car.
Crushed his car like a pop can.
Oh, that was so funny. You could tell it wasn't even really a car. It was so small.
Yeah.
You're just like, wait, he can't fit in that thing if it was real.
But a little side note here. That's when WCW Home Video highlighted the return of Sid and called Sid Vicious the Millennium Man, the VHS tape. And
Yes.
then in 2000, he would turn face after that gimmick ran dry. He was placed in a match that sold out and to fill the suddenly vacated WCW World Heavyweight Championship after Bret Hart was forced to relinquish. Thanks, Goldberg. Is due to
Stop
concussion.
it.
Sid lost to Chris
Oh
Benoit,
my
but the title was
gosh.
again vacated as Benoit left for WWF. He basically said, "Oh, thank you for the title. I'm leaving," which that was for other reasons we'll get into maybe in a later episode. Then the on-screen explanation was that Sid's foot was under the rope during the submission loss. And then on January 24th, Sid was presented with a challenge by Nash, who became the commissioner of WCW at this time. And if he could beat Ron and Don Harris on Nitro that night, he would face Nash for the championship that night. Well,
Quick question.
Yeah.
Who was the man who stripped Chris Benoit?
Graham.
Say again.
Graham?
Nope.
It was no.
It was
Sullivan,
nope.
wasn't it?
Nope. It was Arn Anderson.
It was Arn?
Yeah, he was the special ref in that match. And the next night, that was the kayfabe reason why he got stripped, and Arn was the one who did it.
Right.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I was thinking of when Graham threatened to kill him before Nitro, and he just left.
Then of course he ended up defeating both the Harris brothers and Kevin Nash to win his first WCW title. Then 2 nights later, on Thunder, Nash stripped Sid of the championship due to him not beating the legal Harris brothers in the match on Nitro. Oh God, this is WCW 2000 booking definitely. And Sid later that night, Sid defeated Nash again in a caged heat match.
Ugh.
A caged heat match.
Ugh.
Google it, kids. To win the title for a second time.
Yeah. And also, while you're doing that, kids, Google the San Francisco 49er match.
No, kids, do not Google either one of them. You do not want to have a headache. It's not worth it.
It's best to listen to the professor. Then he would go on to defend that title. And in March, Sid successfully defended against Jarrett with the help from a returning Hulk Hogan brother. And that following night on Nitro, during the tag team, match.
I remember this.
Yep, match pitting Sid and Hogan against Jarrett and Scott Steiner. Sid turned heel and attacked Hogan due to him being, in case that the fans were chanting Hogan's name. I highly doubt it. He chokeslammed Hogan, forced the referee to count Hogan being pinned, although the official result was a no contest. Shortly after this, WCW began its new blood angle. Oh, God.
Hey, but hold on. Before that, let's talk about the great commentating of Madden. Probably the best commentating he's ever done in his life. Daggone, when he had Hogan, he's like, do it! Oh my God, what a world! I'm like, wait, what? What the hell is going on here?
And then shortly after that was the Great Reset, and that's when Sid gave the title. Why did you do that, Sid?
Hey, he did have a triple threat match for that with Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett. Very overlooked.
Yeah, I
It needs to be.
That match wasn't bad.
Yeah, but
it wasn't the best either. Then Sid, after that return, he was putting off TV for a while. Again, go ahead and say it, Professor. His favorite sport.
Softball time.
Softball. He returned in November 27th episode of Raw, revealing himself as the challenger for Scott Steiner's World Heavyweight title.
Raw? What company you talking about? This is Nitro, buddy.
Whatever. I said Nitro. Did I say Raw?
No, you said Raw.
You said Raw.
Oh, God.
But hell, at this point, they didn't even know their name, so that's fine.
Pretty much. But I love the setup, though, because he was like, you know, Ric Flair at the beginning of that show was like, I brought in somebody to fight you at
Starcade.
Starcade. Yes, Starcade. And Steiner was naming off people from the WF that he beat up. He said, I took Austin, I kicked him out of here, and he left, and he's never coming back. And next, you know, by the way, very, very, that Sid theme, very underrated.
Yes.
I will say that right now. When that hit, I kid you not, I stood up off my couch and I started screaming. My parents came in like, what the hell are you screaming at? I said, Sid's back. Then we got the leg of boom after that. But
yeah, after him unsuccessfully losing the title at the same pay-per-view, Sid faced Steiner and Jeff Jarrett and Road Warrior Animal in a four corners match for the WCW heavyweight title. And during the match, he suffered a near ending career injury. Well, this is when I'm going to bring up this toy, and they did my man dirty because this literally happened.
Oh, jeez. Wait. That toy's actually real?
Yes. You press the button, and his knee comes up.
No.
Yes. They did Sid dirty on.
Why
It's a good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good-looking Sid figure. It's underrated. But
didn't he
come on now.
say that it was like he thought it was funny that they did that?
Yeah, but come on now. Really?
Well, okay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. As many times and different angles they show him breaking his leg, why not do the figure?
Right. I remember WCW Worldwide. Like 2 weeks later, they were talking to him. He just got out of surgery, and they're like, "Oh, you know,
hey, Kelly, how are you doing?"
They're like, "Oh, Sid, how you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm just sitting here at home."
Literally,
I'm like,
and he would ride out that the rest of that contract, and I really don't blame him.
Who wouldn't?
I mean,
you're getting paid what, $250,000 to sit at home?
Yeah. And then here's the kicker to me.
He just couldn't play softball.
Yeah, that's what killed him. But let's be real. He broke his leg on a Sunday. On Nitro, they showed him breaking his leg over 8 times.
Yep. And they kept on going back to it.
Exactly, which was just tasteless. WCW was a lot of different things. And I tell you, I was an NWA WCW guy. But even that just tore me up. And I'm like, why are you showing this man breaking his leg in so many different ways? Are y'all trying to pop a rating thinking people are going to see that?
Again, why? But, he would sit on the shelf until 2002, where he would, would be his later career here. We're going to go ahead and wrap up here in just a moment, folks. His later career, 2002 to 2017. In 2002, he did the Australian tour for the WWA, the World Wrestling All-Stars. And he was actually, believe it or not, he was actually commissioner during that time. I don't know. And then Sid filed a lawsuit with the Universal Wrestling Corporation, the Turner Holding Company, for the remainder of WCW's unpurchased assets, seeking redress for the injury he sustained. And the judge ultimately ruled in favor of use of the UWC, which was dumb. They should have ruled in favor of Sid. Then he wrestled in Canada, Memphis, wrestled in Juggalo Championship Wrestling, wrestled in Tennessee, did a return to Raw in 2012 where he basically
destroyed.
And you know what? He looked in shape. He looked good.
He did.
I was like, are we seeing a Sid return? That would be freaking amazing. I remember watching that. I was like, that would be awesome.
I remember the first thing I thought is, man, this crowd has no love for him because they were quiet, sat on their hands. I like, damn.
Then
They didn't get loud till the power bomb, but then again, they didn't get loud for any of the legends.
yeah,
I mean, it was ridiculous.
that right there was ridiculous. Then in 2017, Sid wrestled his last match, defeating Paul Rosenberg. Literally, there's a wrestler named Paul Rosenberg for you GTA fans that's watching in Ottawa, Ontario, and for Great North Wrestling. That was his last match. Then he would go on. He was a great guy. People were saying he was a great dad. His marriage lasted his entire wrestling career, which is
Which
very
is,
freaking rare.
I was just about to say, if that does not say so much about him as a person, nothing else will.
Yeah, and listen, like I
And
said,
don't forget his son was on the show, Big Brother.
yep, he appeared on that. I was about to get into that. And another one of his sons actually wrestle now, so that's really cool. I didn't know that until I was like, really cool. But eventually, Sid, unfortunately, this past Monday, after a year battling cancer, um, unfortunately passed away, which that threw me off when I seen the old company Triple Crown Wrestling. They posted something, and I was like, no, this got to be fake, right? I mean, because we were thinking about what you were wanting to do, like a little convention in Knoxville, and Sid was the very first person I thought of. I was like, if we can get Sid, that would be amazing. Then it turned out to be true, and I did cry a little bit because, like, I know I pick on Sid, but dang, this is one of the big men I remember actually growing up watching wrestling on TV.
Yeah, you all ruined my Monday.
Well, I'm sorry.
Good day.
And now he's far away. Let him right far away.
As you said many times, and it's so truthful, he had a better career than people give him credit for.
Oh yeah, he had a heck of a career, I mean, you said it. Let's get to the accolades. I mean, look at this: American Wrestling Federation. He's the AWF Super Heavyweight Champion. Continental Wrestling. He was CWF Heavyweight Champion, CWA Heavyweight Champion, and NWA Northeast Heavyweight Champion. Southeastern Wrestling NWA Southeast Heavyweight Champion, Northern Division, the Southeast Tag Team Championships. The United States USWA, he was the Texas Heavyweight Champion, the Unified World Heavyweight Champion twice, WCW World Heavyweight Champion twice, WCW United States Champion, and WWF Champion twice, with his WWF title reign beating Shawn Michaels and Bret the Hitman Hart. Not many people can say that.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And plus, not on top of that, eliminating Hulk Hogan in the Rumble, becoming a member of the Four Horsemen, and being the master and ruler of the world, even power bombing, Chris Benoit, for crying out loud. Sorry, I had to do that. But that Sid Vicious, Sycho Sid, Sid Eudy. A lot of people want to pick on him. To me, I would put him up there as one of the most overlooked wrestlers in wrestling history, and not even in the WWE Hall of Fame, because he even made a tweet this past year. Maybe next year I can be in the Hall of Fame, and that would be nice.
And it's so.
Alex, were you talking? We can't hear you.
I think he was.
I said because Vince holds a grudge.
Yeah, well, Paul's over it now, so. But go ahead, Professor. What was you saying?
I was going to say that's the one thing about Hall of Fames, that there's so many people that we deem worthy for it. It's so hard to get everybody in at the appropriate time, and especially dealing with it from our, if anybody knows, WSN is doing a Hall of Fame class, and there are so many different people that myself had thought of that we can't put everybody in. We had to make a limit, and go. So it's very hard to pick people. And then there are so many people deserving of that honor that do not get it. So,
I mean, you guys are putting Wildcat Wendell Cooley in, which I immediately said, yo, that man is way overlooked. I was like, yes, frick, yes.
And right there is a point, is my point. There's so many great wrestlers that help push the business to where it's at today that don't get any love, no credit. There, if you're not a big name superstar, you get passed over.
Yep.
And it's so sad. Like, at least the WWE, they do their main ones, but they do try to put forgotten wrestlers in it. They don't do enough, in my opinion, but at least they do try.
That is true. But you know what, Professor? Go ahead. I got the website down there, scrolling down there for the people. What do you all got going on over at the Wrestling Society Network?
Well, like I said, we doing our version of the Hall of Fame, and it's something that we're extremely proud of. We want to get wrestlers who we think truly deserves a Hall of Fame in there to give more knowledge to younger wrestling fans, to do some research and learn how these people put their bodies and soul on the line for us to enjoy wrestling today. So,
yeah, absolutely. And it looks like if y'all want to go follow them on Facebook, YouTube, all forms of social media, they have an app. It's on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, and also go check out their website. It's scrolling right here at www.thewrestlingsociety.com. They have a lot of podcasts there. I'm soon to be added. Professor is still working on it. But they do have a lot more podcasts on there. Go check them out. Not only that, they also have films.
And one other thing I forgot, man, go on there and vote for the Independent Wrestler of the Week. Please show these independent guys and girls your love and support. Vote for them. It will 2-3 minutes, and this will help support your local wrestling. Let them know that you love wrestling and that you support them. They
Absolutely.
need more shine.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of support wrestling, local wrestling, I think London, Kentucky actually has a wrestling event coming up. It is with, I forgot to get their flyer like an idiot.
Of course you did.
Would you shut up? I just shared it not too long ago. Here it is. It is with Elevated Pro Wrestling. It's their Lock and Loaded. Tomorrow night, it is going to be at the Laurel County Fairgrounds, located at Highway 229, Barberville Road, London, Kentucky. It is, again, Elevated Pro Wrestling, Lock and Loaded. Actually, a good friend of the Joe Monroe Show, it looks like Charles Colton and Adrian Alexander are going to be there, as well as the returning,
Boo!
the Chris Rhodes.
Geez.
So it's looks like that's going to be a great night. Actually, looks like it's got their ticket prices. Door opens at 6, bell times at 7. General admission is $10. Ringside's $15. Kids 5 and under are free. And no, before anyone even asks, they do not pay me to do that. This is something new I'm going to do for everyone. If you want to send a flyer and your location, dates, and all that, any information, send it to the Joe Monroe Show. And the Fridays before the weekend, I'll go ahead and put it on here towards the end of the show. And that way people could be like, oh, that's great. Joe said there's a show around my area. Let's go.
And here's the thing. Those ticket prices, man, you go to the movies, you're going to be paying $25. to get in and snacks and crap. Man, support your local wrestling. And
James Kendrick says buy his merch.
man, hey, buy his merch. Don't make him come look for you.
Yeah, I mean, let me hang on. If you don't believe me, this is what will happen to you if you don't buy his merch. You want a handprint like that? No, I don't think so.
Well, there's a few freaks out there who would love to get chopped like that, but that's something totally
Professor,
different.
this isn't Japan, okay? Eldridge, what do we got going on over at the Horror Show? Go ahead and tell
Well,
the
the
people.
Horror Show, we are going to be covering Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and Halloween Resurrection.
Oh, dear
The
God, you had to remind me,
will be
didn't you?
posted here soon. Once Joe gets it together.
Well, you know, I'm running 2 shows at once. Hush.
But there's something I got to say real quick before I go. And this is what I said on Facebook, and I think it sums up what people think of Sid. You were a huge part of my childhood. As a fan at times, I hated you and loved you. That means you were doing your job, and you did it well. Rest in peace, Millennium Man.
Amen.
Amen. Professor, is there any last words you would like to say about Sid?
There's nothing that I could say that wasn't already said by Mr. Eldridge. And man, if it wasn't for Sid, a lot of things wouldn't be the same. So rest in power, and I hope you enjoy that Royal Rumble in the sky, my friend.
That is 100% true. Folks, this has been yet another episode of the History of Pro Wrestling. Though it may be sad that we lost one of the greats, and honestly, after doing more research on Sid, knowing, I thought I knew a lot about him, but apparently not. I am going to dub him as one of the most overlooked big men in professional wrestling. With that being said, I am Joe Monroe. I usually say support the crazy sport of professional wrestling, but due to the hate that I've been seeing recently, especially with AEW, guys, just shut up and enjoy professional wrestling. It's that easy. If you don't like it, I want to say what Ron Simmons said: change the channel.
Whew.
Let true blue diehard fans, especially people like me, Professor and Eldridge, and the people that are watching this show, let them enjoy themselves. If you're going to be a troll, go troll somewhere else. I ain't got time for you, because if I catch you trolling in public, not only will I catch you in public, but James Kendrick will catch you in public. So I'm just saying. But with that being said, folks, you all stay safe. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we will see you next Friday where we talk about the history of pro wrestling. We're going to talk about the bad guy, Scott Hall.